And we are good to go. Okay, this is Brody, my guest today. I'm Dr. Tony at the Crooked Spine Show, doing a live Facebook interview with this gentleman. And you're in North Dakota?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, apologize. I'm West Coast, so we're blind to anything west of Arizona from us.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we talked about a couple days ago was neuroplasticity. My understanding of that from a lay perspective is how do we get the brain to reconnect their neurons through neuroscience type of methods by doing certain things Brody's going to teach us so our body can actually function at a higher level, meaning that our brain can function at a higher level. So learning becomes easier for both us, me being 46, someone who's 66, or someone who's 6 or 16. For example, can we get our kids make their lives easier so that point they can learn these techniques Brody's going to teach us so learning becomes easier. So the frustration of parents becomes less and less. That's my big picture. We're talking about Brody's background, how he got into this, how it's his passion to help people, especially maybe with addictions too, or post-trauma. So the overall, in his sense, how do you help the world become better one person at a time? All right. So Brody, go over exactly how would you explain neuroplasticity from the big picture and down for me, the little guy, the layman's terms.
So neuroplasticity is essentially learning.
Okay.
It's creating new neural networks in the brain. So when you have any new connection, cellular connection that forms in the brain, that is when learning occurs. So when you have that sudden insight, let's say if I'm learning about, I learned some scientific information, like there are however many bottles of water in the world. And my brain takes in that information and I learn it more than once. Eventually, the neurons form together and wire together just like a piece of computer machinery, essentially. And they wire together, and the more that you learn that and reinforce that, the stronger that neuronal component becomes.
So it almost becomes part of your hard drive of your brain, so it can actually stay there.
Exactly.
Wow.
And to someone who is trying to understand that at a basic level, essentially you just have A and B, which is the other hand, and they come together and mold into one. And
almost like
that is
almost like locking together then.
And locked together, hands locked together, and that is learning at the most basic mechanistic level.
And how come it's harder for some people to learn it faster or slower? Why does that occur, Brody?
That occurs because there are a lot of theories to that, but it has to do with genetics. Okay. Genetics is one component of that. Another is that some people are better at math than others are more creatively wired. For example, they call it left and right brain,
Gotcha.
which that's another theory. We all have components of left and right brain in us, obviously, but some people are more mathematical, logical, and things of that nature, where I tend to be more creatively gifted and good at things such as writing and communicating, which that uses more of the components in the right hemisphere.
Does that mean that your right hemisphere, my left, because I'm more analytical, is more developed or has more connections? Or how would you, I guess, correlate that difference right and left with the type of brain structure?
Again, I think it comes down to our genetic makeup, because some people are great engineers and if I tried, I could punch in mathematical numbers all day and not having a passion or
Got it.
and they don't necessarily know yet where that comes from.
Okay.
And once again, there's a lot of theories, but like people have different gifts,
Got it.
and mine necessarily was not math, whereas other people, people have their different levels of genius.
Yeah, mine
Is
was
what I
never
call it.
English. Doesn't matter how hard I studied, maybe grade school, high school, or college, I got the big C. Doesn't matter. Didn't matter to me. So I tried, just like I said, but is there a brain structure or a theory of the brain structure being different? Someone who's left or right-sided brain. Is there any theories on that?
Again, I don't have that information.
Yeah.
But I know that there are theories, structurally or mechanistically. I think that if I had to take a guess, I think that they are different.
Yeah.
Because every brain is different. Every single brain is unique. Therefore, somebody who is mathematically gifted, his brain is, I guarantee you, is different than somebody who is gifted with communicating.
Well, and then Brody, give me kind of a breakdown of the simple brain parts that can actually change or adapt when we talk about brain training. What are those parts that actually are part of the brain?
So there's so much that can happen. Then you can actually locate individual regions that you want to train. For example, the prefrontal cortex, which is our CEO, boss, whatever, it is the highest seed of our human ability. It transfers, I call it Einstein, because it generates information to all the other areas of the brain. But in order to train that, we can do things such as visualization. We can Scrabble is another great game to train the prefrontal cortex, and meditation, deep breathing gets oxygen and blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. And so, and then there's other exercises. For example, for your cerebellum, you're going to want to do a lot of bottle like quick exercises. So I have a lot of them on at Neuroprosperity, which is my Instagram, which I show like these quick witted exercises that you can do that work your left and right brain. The hemispheric integration is what they call it. And it works your corpus callosum, which in turn works your cerebellum, which is your mini brain. And it's tiny. It's very tiny, but it's actually 50% of our neuronal computational power, which is incredible.
Well, that's got me interested. That's why I contacted you about doing the podcast, because your movements are not going out to do a HIIT workout or going out physically to go do something in a gym or go for a run. It's basically hand motions. It's eye motions, things that you're doing around your own body to make your overall body, I want to call it confuse the body, but retrain it over time also. I think that's a very important thing for people to understand. It's some things you can do daily to retrain your cerebellum, your frontal cortex. At that point, that overall concept, and as you go through different parts of the brain too, you see the overall benefit. I think that's the plan.
Absolutely. That especially at any age you can do this, which is the most important thing that people need to acknowledge, that neuroplasticity can occur at any age, and that you do not want to give up. It's just like training your muscle, And
let me see your guns one more time. Was that? That's a gun. Yep, that's a gun.
It's just like training your muscle.
Yeah.
And it grows when you use it. If you use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. Same thing with the brain. And with the more that we are active and we confuse it and do things like that, same thing, muscle confusion. We're
Yes.
working with a piece of fatty tissue with our brain, and it's the most important thing, piece of technology that we got. So we might as well learn how to use it.
Well, and a lot of it is, I think, and you may be able to put some insight in this too. I'm kind of guessing on this. If you train your brain, especially as we get older, does it help prevent dementia, Alzheimer's, those type of mind, if you want to call it, deficiencies as we age?
You got it. You got it. I've got my elderly parents, 65, 66. They're both training their brain away as much as I can get them to. Activating reading is another great way of confusing yourself. Exercise is so key for getting your brain activated.
Exercise meaning physical exercise?
Physical exercise, okay. Yep. And you're going to want to take the correct supplementation. And another great thing.
Well, what does supplementation be for the brain? What's a good supplement for the brain?
Great supplementation, generally speaking, you're going to want to take a complex, like a multivitamin, B12, B6, especially if you're on a plant-based diet, you're going to want to take B6.
Okay.
Fish oil is essential for our brain. It's like a power, a mega power for our brains.
Well, it's like it's like a good fat, correct, for your brain, and good energy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great energy source, and so the omega-3s.
Okay.
And then you're gonna want to. Those are like the main ones, but I also take God, what is it? Well, vitamin D3 is another key supplement. So especially in wintertime, if you're not getting sufficient amount of vitamin D from the sun, you're going to want to take that supplementation. Magnesium.
And D3 specifically, not D6 or something like that, correct? It's D3?
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Magnesium is key for the brain.
Okay. Great
for sleep, great for the overall computational powers. And those are about it. I like to take quite a few others, but it's kind of for general memory and just like high achiever type stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of it, people think, okay, I want to function at a higher level, and you're giving us enough ideas so far. Because I'm going to connect also your Instagram and even your other sites too to this talk today and down the line. And we talked about too before is how does the actual connection work between the neuroplasticity to actually work scientifically, but at more of a layman's terms, so people understand. If I'm going to do this, what should I expect to happen? Or how do I explain this to my friend, Johnny, that's not a rocket scientist like Brody is, so he understands what's going on too?
Well, I'm far from a rocket scientist.
Glad you caught
I appreciate that. I'm just a regular guy, but I believe that we all have genius potential in us.
Love it.
But if I were to break this down at just a basic level, there's a very simple term that you can remember, and it's neurons that fire together wire together.
Okay.
And that basically just means that things that link together things that sync together link together. So it's just kind of little acronym that you can remember. Just like if you were playing a little game of hopscotch, you just neurons that fire together wire together. It just sounds right, and it just sounds good in your mind. And a neuron is the essential building block of the brain, and it's what we it's what makes it all work. And
It's almost like
once
the
they
spark,
link
right?
together, they sync together.
It's almost like the spark that gets things going.
Exactly.
And if you have enough sparks working at the same time, then it allows normal body function. If enough neurons work at a higher quantity of time and they're connected together even higher, at that point you can fire at a higher function.
Precisely.
And I'm not even a rocket scientist. It's crazy.
Nope, you're getting smarter every second.
I know, it hurts back here. Is that my frontal cord? Where is that? I don't know.
Cerebellum.
Right. I figured. and based on what we were talking about too, what is the effect? A couple topics you had sent me. What is the effect of the internet as an aspect of neuroplasticity? Does it help it? Does it hurt it? How does the internet, and I want to say in general, like you had mentioned, how do you explain the effect of the internet on neuroplasticity or brain health?
Well, two ways. It affects us positively and negatively.
Okay.
And I'll explain that it affects us positively in that we have this amazing quantitative or quantum amount of information that we've never been able to access before. So we're downloading information at speeds and that we've never been able to in the past. So it's almost like extreme learning.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, you have laziness, and it creates laziness in the brain. For example, if you go in your car and you put in the directions, Google Maps, you're losing this computational power in your brain that you had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So or for example, vocabulary or learning how to spell. Those are things that
Brody,
have been taken away from us.
We'll go back to maps too. If we've gone from, for example, when I was a kid, I'm 46 years old, we used to use a Thomas guide. It was a big book they put out, I think, every year with the maps of, I want to say, California, Arizona, every state. And it showed basically when you went to a certain page, like an index, where to actually find that city, that town, that street, and where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that would take sometimes anywhere from 5-10 minutes, if you were lucky, to find that right spot. So, I'd be on the road somewhere, and I'd call my dad, and go, "Okay, Dad, how do I get here? I'm in Santa Monica, going to Century City. What's the fast way to go?" Instead of him saying, "Hey, take this street, this street, this street," you go to your Thomas guide, go to page 5C. At that point, look on the upper section, like, just give me the directions already. But by him, it sounds painful right now. By going your route to where, okay, we go to the page, we go through that process, and by skipping that process, have we now shut down neurons in our brain or shut down connections or not built connections because now we're given shortcuts?
Yes, we have. We've caused a breakdown in the muscular fortitude of what those areas of the brain were initially designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So those areas that were for spatial mapping, that had let's say, I had a map of my city.
Yeah.
And it is actually in the hippocampus, because
Mm.
they did a study of London cab drivers, who who went all over the city, and
Yeah.
they noticed that their hippocampus was twice like the size of a normal average person.
Where's the
So
hippocampus too structurally? Where's the hippocampus in your
the
brain?
hippocampus structurally is kind of in the midbrain. It's in the midbrain.
Okay.
So it's it's kind of somewhat in the reptilian area, like a little. It's not necessarily where the cerebellum is. It's kind of in the
Inside.
middle, mid side.
Well,
But
then you talk about the hippocampus actually being more enlarged. Is that because they use more neurons, the cab drivers, to actually get them to orient themselves? I'm going to say from a bird's eye view, wherever they were, to get where they had to get to. That training over and over again, it allowed that to actually grow that part of the brain.
precisely.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's problematic to some extent, and that's why I will intentionally train myself to do not necessarily things such as that, but I will intentionally train my brain.
And I think if for example, I'm going to use another example that I think makes sense to me. If I'm in high school or in college or something like that, and I'm told to read chapters, say 5 through 10, and that's going to maybe 100 pages. And then someone says, hey, I have the cliff notes of those chapters. That's only 10 pages. Is that almost you're cheating yourself, that learning ability, by taking the cliff notes instead of reading the whole chapters?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I mean, any shortcut to what your ultimate, any learning shortcut, well, not necessarily, but
Okay.
most of the time, any learning shortcuts such as you mentioned, that you're bypassing a large amount of information. You're you're skipping out on being able to build that muscle
So we
as
should be
you
mad at
could
our
have.
teachers for doing that every day when we were in high school and college, right? Should be
Mm-hmm.
mad at them. They're trying to help us develop our brain, not just learn the facts of what we wanted to learn for the test.
That's true, and we didn't take that into
Yeah.
consideration. You just want to get the hell out of there, but
Yeah, exactly. I don't like to curse on Facebook. Yeah, I understand. It was painful. Some of it was painful, but and you're getting a good point to where how do we use the internet properly, but also make sure we're doing enough to make sure we have that balance of we're still keeping our brain strong and healthy and functioning at a high level, but we're still using common technology at the same time.
it's a balance.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And also you mentioned too, is using blue light maybe through glasses or some other aspect, is that good for our brains or is that not helpful, or how does blue light work?
Blue light is a level of the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay.
So our eyes, we can see the blue, red, green,
Mm.
and blue is one of the lowest frequencies on the electromagnetic spectrum. And why that is pertinent is because the blue light, everything is, I think in terms of frequencies,
Got it.
and the lower the frequency, the more problematic it can be to the brain. And blue light, as I said, is lower, and the longer you're exposed to it, um, you know, just you get just from a awareness standpoint, your eyes start to bother you. Like, let's say if I've been looking at a screen for long enough, but there's been studies about the circadian rhythm,
Yep.
and how blue light specifically will throw off our natural circadian rhythm.
Mm.
I don't have the exact specifics of
Sure.
that study, but I know that a certain amount of blue light per day will throw off your natural circadian rhythm, which is so important to
Well,
us.
a lot of our body, if our body goes under stress, right? And if we're saying blue light's a low frequency and our brain doesn't like that and it causes stress in our body, I mean, it's going to cause your body to be thrown off no matter what. So I think a lot of it is when we work. And what is a good frequency to work into when you're talking about reading or light or going on your computer or laptop? What's a good frequency to be in?
Yeah. So if you a red light is a higher frequency.
Okay.
That's why there's a lot of people that are into biohacking and things
Okay.
like this. They have these red light infrared saunas. Then I don't know. They haven't proven if the studies work yet, but people do wear blue light blocking glasses all throughout the day, especially if you're. It would make sense from a. It would make sense that they block the blue light, or they lessen the amount of light coming through to your visual cortex. But
Are they called blue light glasses? Are they called blue light?
blue light blocking glasses, but they're essential. They're especially important to wear at nighttime before you go to, at least an hour before you go to bed.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been thinking, why they call them blue light glasses if they're supposed to block blue light? That's weird.
Blue light blocking
Yeah,
glasses is
yeah, and
what they
yeah,
call them.
yeah. I was like, because I see them on the internet, and one of my friends recommended blue light glasses. I thought it actually brought more blue light in, but it does block the blue light. Got it.
It's for to make sure the melatonin secretion stays in the adequate amount for what your body is supposed to put out.
Yeah, I just put that as a comment too, so people can realize what that's for. And so I always recommend, especially with people right now, with especially students being distance learning and learning online for 4 or 5 hours a day, and at least give your brain a chance to function at a higher level by not by we'll call reducing brain function by by avoiding the blue light. And where does blue light come from? Is it just from your screen, from your phone, from your computer?
That's a great question. I honestly don't know where it derives from. It's just electronic.
Well, if anything, if what is color? Right, color comes from red, blue, and what's the third color?
Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
The
So,
color of the sun.
so if there's a frequency, if there's different, every color has different frequency. Cutting out the lower frequencies, like you had mentioned, allows things to work at a higher frequency, such as red, as being a higher frequency, right?
Right.
Perfect. Good. So they should the Mac should start making computers that block out the blue light. That'd be nice. Thanks, Mac. I'm
That
giving
would
you guys
be
a heads up.
Yeah.
Apple, whatever it is.
Google, Apple. They anyway. So
we're gonna patent that too, Brody. So make sure this is live. We'll make sure we save this for our attorneys later. You know?
Yeah.
So they know for sure.
They know it's recorded.
So Brody, let's back up too and tell me how you got into all of this neuroplasticity study, neuroscience study. What's your background, sir?
So I got into it because I had brain surgery 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
And that was a turning point in my life.
Wow.
And before that, I struggled with addiction mightily. And what I was making all these really poor decisions in my early to mid 20s, and I couldn't understand why. And when I had that first seizure, that first grand mal seizure, I ended up in the hospital and then had the brain surgery, which removed a cavernous malformation, which was about the size of a cranberry. And they removed that. And after that, I did not heal 100%. And I continued to have grand mal seizures.
Wow.
But for about 6 months after that, until I started to get into meditation.
Got it. Okay.
And once I started to get into meditation, I started to notice a palpable change in who I was, what I stood for, like all of these real noticeable changes. And then I started to getting into researching about it, like, and I continued to meditate, of course, and got into eating healthy, just adding one and one on top of the mountain, on
Good.
top of the equation. And then it's just like a snowball effect. And I continued, absolutely fell in love with neuroscience. And now I just want to help people.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of it is you are helping people on your Instagram, on your other links too, is to give them a little bit of a taste of how this actually works. And hopefully this podcast, this interview today will kind of give people the big picture and small picture of how they can help their brains through your experience and through your learning to become a better, higher functioning brain. If they have problems like you had before, that can help things like headaches and addiction to help them understand where the sources are to get rid of them. And talking about your surgery too, how did the brain surgery go? What did they remove or what did they do?
Yeah, so they removed a small 2.5 centimeter cavernous malformation, which is essentially a non-benign tumor, which was leaking blood into the brain. And they said that it was there since I was born.
Wow.
Which was the crazy part. So this malformation was causing me to make have erratic thoughts, decisions, habits, and
what was it? The blood poisoning the brain, or was the structural piece blocking other neurons from firing? What do you think the cause was, or how did that work?
I would say that it was causing havoc, like the blood. Your brain, number one, doesn't like blood, and then that malformation was it was causing electric dysfunction in the brain, which electromagnetic dysfunction. So when a seizure occurs, it's just like a light storm going on.
Yeah.
And that once they removed that, there was still small amounts of blood left in the brain, which your brain still doesn't like. But once I started to meditate, the gray matter strengthened the muscle. I strengthened the muscle and of the brain in different areas, and now I feel like I feel better than ever, honestly. So,
well, almost like you said, meditation will retrain your prefrontal cortex, which is that your gray matter or white matter?
A little bit of both.
Okay, so you're getting your brain to I want to call it regrow and also reconnect the neurons. So you got your brain. You actually got your brain to get healthier in a healthier state, and like your guns, it was actually able to grow too.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing when you understand, especially when you have to go through something like that. You can do your own research and then go, how do I help my body get healthier? How do I help me get healthier? the science is out there, and you found it, and you're the result of success story.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky to be able to have people that support me in my life, number one, and that gratitude is another big component of all of this. I'd have to say.
Wow. And going to another topic too, because you covered a lot of stuff already too. Based on neuroplasticity and about brain training, how can it help the world become just a better world? Is it, I mean, what is your aspect of that? How would that help people?
I believe that the world, that from a psychological standpoint, we all have a little bit of good in us and a little bit of bad in us.
Yeah.
But I believe that we all have more good in us than bad. And unfortunately, right now we're living in difficult times. And it's more or less a culmination of people. I don't know how to say this 100%, but it's more or less, there's a lot of narcissism going on. And narcissism, it's a narcissistic, materialistic world that we're living in right now. And in order to change that, you have to go back to the basics. You have to the character always has to come before we have to get our leadership. We need more character in our leadership. And for the kids, I've got a lot of hope, because usually the tough times lead to strength. I mean, it leads to strengthening. Just because, just like a muscle.
Learn from our past and present, right? Can we learn from that? Make the next generation, okay, sometimes what to do and sometimes what not to do.
Right. And it's a convoluted topic, but I think it starts from better leaders, number one. And then it starts from people being more willing to help out their neighbor. It's helping yourself and then helping your neighbor.
And sometimes by helping your neighbor, you're helping yourself too at the same time.
Exactly.
You know, going back to brain training too, if you learn something, but if you teach someone else how to do it, and you teach someone else that same material, does it make that more concrete? Does that fire more in your brain to make that more in your hard drive by teaching, not just learning yourself and being part of that community?
100%. And I was able to learn from a great mentor. You'll have to look him up. His name's Jim Quick.
How do you spell Quick?
Kwik.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
And he has a great saying, and he says, when you teach somebody, you learn it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a great resource for young individuals, especially because if I was able to learn what I learned from him at their age, then I would be Brody Einstein.
Well, not only I want to say, if we can start young as possible with our kids, we know they're moldable, and we teach them these things up front, they can absorb so much more material and have so much more, if you want to call it, compressibility of that material, so there's still more room in their brain that's not limited. They almost increase the spatial amount of the gray and white matter along with compressing material at the same time.
Exactly. They're giving their brain the space to function at a higher cognitive capacity.
Yeah.
And they'll be teaching us.
Yeah. I have one patient. He's old. He's a senior, and he brings his granddaughter in. And then when he's driving here and he's here and he helps her with the homework and listens to some of the distance learning classes, he goes, "Man, I'm learning my English all over again. I forgot about all this stuff when I was a kid." Now that he's older, for one too. So it's learning things sometimes a second time, and I say a second, third, fourth time where it becomes more concrete and more personal because now it's important to you also. And when you get, I want to say, kids or even adults that want to relearn something and maybe even retrain a different profession, when you have that motivation, that drive, and you've seen it before, and now it becomes more concrete, you become a quicker learner also. So when you're exposed to more things over time, even when you're younger, that sits somewhere in your brain, even unconsciously, where, well, I've seen that before. How do I relearn that so now I actually get it in my brain, understand what it is, not just know what it is.
Exactly. Things will come in either auditorily, visually, even you can touch something and gain information from any of our five senses, and then it stays in your unconscious mind, and there you are, which our unconscious mind is an incredible, powerful thing.
And Brody, how long did it take you to learn all of this? Is it a couple days, couple weeks, couple months?
Yeah, it took a couple of years at least.
Yeah. So when we retrain our brain, when we go through these steps, the exercises we're going to link to, what should we expect result-wise in a time frame? What's a good time frame to expect to see improvement or see a change?
I would give at bare minimum 30 days to see any palpable improvement.
Yep.
Most people aren't going to see. I was able to see lots of change because I had structural neuroplasticity, and a lot of people didn't have that strong of a neuroplastic change, because I was having difficulty putting sentences together. So
well, you had nothing blocking the new development of neural connections, correct?
Right.
It wasn't rewiring. It was actually just wiring. And
exactly.
To wire something, then have to go back to like just physical wire to rewire it. It's a lot more work versus just putting the wires in together.
Precisely. And here's another book recommendation: the Brain That Changes Itself. God, that's another great one.
Nice. I'm putting the notes then too.
It's Norman Dodge, I think is his name. But that will give you a perfect example of what's going on structurally. And there's just a great resource.
Nice. And I love it is can we continue to work on ourselves and give yourself time by doing these exercises, understanding how your brain works. So it may take you 30, 60, 90 days, maybe a year, but when you work on something, it should take time because it took our brain time to develop. And then if you're thinking about restructuring your brain, reconnecting your brain, after all the wires are already there, your brain's gonna go, what the heck you want me to do? It's used to one way. That stress of changing, it's gonna be a lot more work until you get there. But once you get there, at that point, it's easy. I want to say easy to maintain. Correct?
It is.
Good.
It's kind of.
I don't want to work too hard, Brody. I don't want to work too hard.
You don't look like you're doing it anyway.
I try not to. I
Nah,
try to look like I don't want to do work as hard. Yeah, I get it.
that's the key. But that is the key. It's just like a highway, or like think of it as a road or a new trail that you're cutting. If at first it's super hard, you're in the Amazon, you're cutting out a trail, boom, boom, boom. Man, this is hard. I'm never gonna get through. And then, oh wow, I got through. And then eventually you're just walking on that trail and it's clean and you're paving it. Oh man, you're in good shape then.
It's easy right at that point. It's easy.
Yeah, anybody can ride at that point.
But you're giving people the basic structure, which I love about your Instagram, especially, and other links to make them understand. Okay, if you start this today, over a 2, 3, 4 month period, you're going to see the benefits. So, and if you do the hard work of reading a full book, of going through maps and seeing how that process works, taking yourself time, not taking shortcuts, realize all that helps this develop either well or not well. So you have to give yourself time to learn and spend that time, even if you're in school and you're frustrated, that extra work you're doing to relearn, go through your notes, and help someone else learn it too, which is I want to say the easiest way when you know something is to teach somebody else. At that point, you're able to learn that even better. And if the grades are your thing, get good grades. At that point, you can apply whatever you want to play. When you do the hard work then, especially when you're younger, as my friend says, Frankie, it becomes easier later. Either work hard now or work hard later.
Exactly.
What do you want to do?
And you can apply it to anything you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to.
It's infinite. Yeah, I get it. Anything else, Brady, to wrap it up for our first talk? I think it's been great for me to learn some things and what to do and what not to do. And a lot of it is, if kids are watching, even parents too, we need to be patient with your learning and not take shortcuts, and be patient with your kids too. And you may give some of these techniques that Brady's going to walk through. What I'll do too is after I finish our talk, I'll link up your Instagram to at least start there and get more links out down the line. Is understand that, hey, if my kid or myself have problems gaining material, comprehending material, is there something I can do to help my comprehension better, not just work hard on that material? Can I be more efficient with my time to make sure I'm doing maybe some of these techniques that seem, hopefully they seem hard. If they seem hard, these exercises, it means you got to do them, right? Correct?
Yeah, good. If
if they're
that's good. That means you're doing the right thing.
That means you have to do them so that part of your brain works better, so your material comprehension, what you want to do, be successful at, can be successful at as an easier way to do it.
Precisely.
Good. How do you want to wrap this up, Brody? What do you want people to get out of this? What do you want people to connect with you for?
So I would love you all to check me out at neuroprosperity.com. I am hoping to teach people the benefits of neuroplasticity and why each and every one of us has genius potential in us, and we can all make a better world together, truthfully, and we will.
Good. I like the message, my friend. A lot of it is, can we start one person at a time, one exercise at a time, and build on top of that? And as you have been, you have the experience, you have the empathy to someone going through that, and understanding it's gonna be sometimes frustrating. Sometimes you're gonna want to take a step back, but when you push forward, you're gonna see that light in front of you. You're gonna see that road being built to where now you can go back and forth on that road. It seems like it's easy all the time.
Exactly. Very, very rewarding.
And again, that's neuroplasticity.com, correct?
No, neural, NEURALPORSPERITY.com. Neuroprosperity.com.
That's my mistake. I made that. Let me put that in real quick. Neuroprosperity.com. Got it. Okay. Prosperity. And again, I have to work on my spelling, so I need some brain help there, my friend.
We all could use it.
Doesn't hurt me at all. All right, my friend. It's going to come down to. I'm going to change everything on here too in a second. Neuro. I still can't spell very well. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to blame my phone. Prosperity.com. Okay. Got it. Yeah, we're on track with everything. I think you brought the big point of how do we start getting ourselves and our communities realize how do we help others? How do we not be narcissistic? How do we go, okay, how do we help? And especially with distance learning now, this is in my world here, is how do you help these parents and these kids get through their schooling, get through their life, get through what we're going through right now with quarantine so they can get back to their lives afterwards and be better people and not fall behind and fall back or get frustrated and just fall off. That's what I worry about the most. Right, Mr. Brody, thank you for your talk. One big smile before we go.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome, sir. I'll save this for the post, and I'll send you the link and also the raw video in a little bit.
All right.
Thank you, my friend.
Take care.